This is the Lord Chief Justice Office, Naruhodo-san.
Say that 3 times fast.
This is the Lord Chief Justice Office, Naruhodo-san. This is the Lord Chief Justice Office, Naruhodo-san. This is the Lord Chief Justice Office, Naruhodo-san.
You slipped at the end there. You slipped at the end there.
I tried my best. Now you shut up.
Thanks for saving me there, Susato-san.
No, I'm just saying what comes to my mind. Naruhodo, you're next. You need to say what comes to your mind about this wonderful city as well.
Oh,
And it can't just be static noise.
This is a very nice clock.
I'm going to need you to try a little harder.
But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Ooh.
What are you trying to say, madam?
I'm saying that that's the second game. We're still on the first.
I think.
Oh, you do make a good point, madam.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 3rd episode of the Great Ace Attorney. We are here talking.
It is I, the guinea man.
Wait, was this only episode 3?
No, welcome back to episode 3, as in case 3 of the Great Ace Attorney.
Oh, okay.
Not episode.
No, I think this happened last time too. This happened in the last.
They call these episodes. They don't call them cases. They just call them all episodes.
Call them Chronicles.
Chronicles.
Welcome to episode 23 of episode 3 of episode 1 of Great Ace Attorney.
Yes. Anyway, we're here to talk with our client, apparently, who is asking about how much money we need, apparently.
Now, guineas! I'm talking about guineas, my man!
No, we're just here because...
No need to explain, fellas. I've been there myself, so I have. Hang on, this is slipping into papyrus. What's going on?
Irish
I'm turning into Yana Yogi. Hang on. Somewhere around, where was I? Like circus performer?
Yes.
Somewhere around like, yes, it was like, welcome to the circus, my man. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange, faraway land.
I'm just loving that he's slowly becoming some weird New Yorker Brooklyn accent. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no.
It's grand.
He's a JoJo character.
Let me start by giving you 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now.
1,000 guineas?
Please, Mr. Sato, you don't have to shout.
1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo.
What?
Do you not know how math works on the economy?
No!
It's nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see.
Naruhodo-san, you go to college! How do you not know these things?
I wasn't planning to be a transfer student. Why would I care about currency exchange?
I talked about how this would be enough to build a mansion in Tokyo.
No?
It seems like you're all having your own conversation. Let me just let you at it for a bit.
No, you stay here.
Anyway, I have enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over.
Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Thanks. That hit me in the eye. Thank you for the 3DS gimmick.
I have incredibly good aim, my boy. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you, no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me.
Oh?
Be honest, it's a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see. It's for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now.
Oh, well, the thing is...
Don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me. Nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. And that's no good, no sir.
It was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up.
Why would he lie to you?
I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but...
It is a little sus that he has all this money and he doesn't have anyone defending him, though.
Does that mean you're the defendant in this trial?
Gee, I wonder.
Green blazes! Do yous not know who I am? Me? One of London's biggest names?
Sir, you just established that we're from the Far East, so no,
No,
we don't know who
sorry.
you are.
We've only just arrived in the city, you see.
My gods! I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park, there's the center of London. Hang on. Well, just next to Hyde Park there, in the center of London, is another beautiful park.
Sorry? Park? What?
It's called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot.
How very Disney-esque?
I donated it to the city. So I did.
An entire park in central London?
City of Smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its okay, hang on. All right. This entire sentence just threw me. It just threw me. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its square old people.
That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary.
I'm glad I'm not even trying to be Irish here.
You
This
just
would go so badly.
You've just given up?
No, I'm just leaning into circus performer. Like the guy in charge of a circus.
It's like that painting in the background. They clearly wanted to draw something, and then they just went, just colors places, I guess.
That's it. That's our voice work in this game.
It's art.
Ah, but now they've got to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with the London police, I ask you?
Sir, calm down. The trial hasn't even started. Alright, don't pass out.
Maybe do, that might help.
Mr. Arahodo, perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves, while the gentleman catches his breath.
Good idea.
Yep, you better hurry, or otherwise I'm gonna keep talking for another 5 minutes.
Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students, on a study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our...
What was I after saying, you daft what the...
Egypt? Egypt. It's idiot, but Egypt.
You daft Egypt? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I?
Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you.
Anyway. Oh, I think I see what's going on here.
Sorry?
I know what you're thinking. There's a chance of a fella claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England?
I mean, that's been sitting on my head, yeah.
Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well,
well, I'm gonna tell you right now, it doesn't matter how I answer, so do you want to be funny or do you want to be straight?
exactly.
Yes, exactly.
What now?
Well, like you said, if you have all that money, but you don't have anyone to represent you in court, there's no other logical conclusion than that you're guilty of the charges.
Well, you call a spade in the East, so you do.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any offense. I still can't express myself very well in English, you see. No, I don't know, you're pretty clear.
Naruhodo, English major.
And I'm never sure what's acceptable to say and what isn't, so... To be fair, considering how people study other languages, he probably knows how to read English, but, you know, speaking it is another thing.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Is that so? Because you sounded fluent enough when you were telling me what a blackguard I must be.
But yeah, still, I'm just like, you were right to the point what you wanted there. I'm terribly sorry.
I can't say that I blame you for thinking it, fella.
It is a little strange, to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean.
That would be the fault of the Reaper.
Sorry? Did he just say Reaper? The new job in the critically acclaimed Final Fantasy XIV? No.
Oh my god! He's already unlocked the new job in the critically acclaimed MMO Final Fantasy XIV, which is now free up to level 60, and includes the critically award-winning expansion Heavensward?
That you can't play and join right now. Anyway.
Okay.
Basically making this joke completely moot.
Wait. If the Chief Justice is Dracula... Oh no.
We're all gonna
Anyway,
be, this whole game is just an allegory. It's just an allegory for Castlevania.
I'm God. What is happening? Anyway,
Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Baroque Van Seeks. He's the prosecutor. I was gonna say Barrack.
The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper?
Of course, you just talked to Dracula, didn't you?
I suppose we did, but...
When Van Zeek stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs.
that's nice.
And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned.
What?
It's reached a desperate situation. But there's no one willing to stand in defense against the fella and all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey.
Yes. Lord Baruch van Zeeks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then.
Talented or cursed?
Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed.
You said not me.
I didn't mean for that. Cursed? What on earth?
The defendant is summoned and is counsel.
Please make your way to the courtroom. The trial is about to begin.
His counsel. That would be me. Yes, Naruto.
Yep, that would be you, I suppose.
Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fellas, don't let me down.
But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. I feel like we're back to like the first case all over again anyway.
Until you showed your face here. I'd made up my mind, so I had.
Sorry?
I decided I'd have to defend myself in there.
How would that have worked? Naruto, you
What do you mean, how would that have worked? That's what you did!
I was gonna say, what? That's why I stopped and was like, wait,
Look,
Naruto.
he crammed so much studying that he completely forgot everything else.
Then you made an appearance! Student law, wouldn't you know?
It's impressive he remembered how to breathe.
There's no accident, I can assure you of that. It's fate. Don't get cold feet now, please. I wonder
This
if like
isn't-
half the vowels are even coming through on Discord with how fast I'm talking every time.
Sir, once again, we request you in the Bailey now.
I literally know nothing about the case or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him.
Hey, Charlie, you gotta stop making an execution mark to people who walks by you. So, Mr. Naruhodo.
The man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Cosmo would never have allowed to happen.
Answer for the defense. What are you doing?
If you're late for the start of the trial, old Charlie here is gonna say that you should be executed. So you're
Sorry,
gonna lose
what?
your right to start. Well, yeah, old Charlie here, he tells a lot of things. He puts a little finger across his throat because he always thinks the fan's gonna go to die.
I'll be right there.
Anyway, you don't want to keep Dracula's right-hand man waiting.
Oh boy. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma.
Don't fuck up.
Because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. Oh my god, that's that whisper.
Did you hear the Naruhodo-san? I could have sworn I heard the Silgi.
Yeah. No, nothing. No, you're just imagining it. Don't worry about it.
I believe he
Sometimes
said, "Don't fuck up." Yes.
Sometimes I still hear his voice.
Gay, samurai, gay.
18th February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey Courtroom. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I like that Strongheart said later this afternoon, 10 a.m.
So this is the highest court in Great Britain. The Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan.
Feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, yes, what? Sir.
Oh, we're back to this again.
You're doing that again. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head, yet again.
I know, but I just can't help it.
Well, you're going to have to help, or else they're going to think that we're guilty.
Hey, it's him! Lewis, your time to shine is soon!
Finally!
Looks like frickin' Dracula.
He does.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
Have fun, Lewis.
I still don't actually know how I'm gonna make him sound, but
Very posh. Very
we're going to roll with it. Prosecution is fully prepared.
That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld.
Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English?
Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried.
Those eyes please me, Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. Quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb.
That's nice. Ugh, a cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes.
Now, Mr. McGilded,
Yes, my lord!
you stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? Trying not to be racist, trying not to be racist, trying to be polite.
As I've always said, my lord,
Racist.
it's a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella's a student from some little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers of yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud.
Listen to Mr. McGilded.
A fine gentleman London has in him.
Did you hear that he
you
donated?
hear?
Oh, sorry.
Mother, please, may we go and play in McGilded Park?
Oop, I did it again. Please.
Lewis's child voice just. Alright.
It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded.
That's definitely welcome news. And he certainly has a way with words.
And also, this gallery doesn't have any people from the military in it, like your trial, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh my god. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him.
Elegantly put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, my lord. If the Tarsus has sent an order to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready.
Wait, which juror am I?
At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me.
I love him. Juror number 3 is...
He's got a knife.
But let me tell you a funny thing about juror number 3. He is so popular that he managed to make it to the popularity polls. He is ranked.
He doesn't even have a name.
He doesn't have a name, but he got ranked. He's not like top 10 or anything, but he was still like in the top 30 at one point because people loved him.
The knife racist is charisma.
And you don't
And
have
British
to say
Goro Majima.
Oh, juror 4 just all right. She's busy. Leave her alone.
Oh, for the chill.
Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my meeting.
Is that Link's grandma?
Must finish these mitts for my dear grandson Link.
Is that Link's grandma?
He's knitting the hero's tunic right now,
Yep.
Lewis.
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, those people are...
the jury. Yes, that's something we don't have in Japan yet.
It's something that Japan will never have, apparently. At least Japanifornia. Whatever. That's right. I've only ever read about it.
They almost had it.
But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense.
Oh boy, common sense.
So to the... yes, common sense, indeed.
Common
So the
sense in
defendant...
Ace Attorney.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But, Mr. Naruhodo, you have common sense, right? After all, you convinced me that you didn't kill Soki. So the defendant is
Sure.
ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view.
That's Naruhodo. These are NPCs.
Oh my god, not NPCs.
But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict?
That I don't know, but... I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses.
Just wing it.
Yeah. Yep, just wing it.
Prosecutor
so far.
Van Zeeks.
My lord.
It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounce your fame.
I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity.
So, what brings you back?
Dracula, mostly.
Is there some change of circumstances of which the court should be aware?
Heal 6-3, baby!
Oh my god.
I'll leave that to your imagination, my lord.
So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback?
Hey. He could
I
be
smelled
rusty.
fear in the air.
He could be rusty.
Oh yeah,
Doing this hot, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm sure he's very rusty.
As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity.
We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. Yeah, probably.
The incident took place in the late evening. 3 days passed. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason.
Sorry? Thrice?
Try counting to 3, my good boy.
He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible.
I made Legos.
Legos?
The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service of the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death.
Now I'm still Mr. Naruhodo here. If you only have a word for 3, why don't you use the word 3?
We're the Great British Empire. We don't have to settle for just one word.
Oh, that's mighty confusing.
Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard.
Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. Autopsy report. A report prepared by the Scotland Yard coroner. It gives the cause of death as internal hemorrhages as a result of a single stab wound to the abdomen. Oh, that's quite terrible.
My dear madam, are you holding the evidence?
Oh, he just happened to send them to me. He just sent them right
okay.
here.
Fine.
Just
Sorry.
reading them. Here, I'll pass them over to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
A photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus. The knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked hat. Oh,
I like the implication that juror number 6 is reading all this.
And one further item of evidence.
They're quite lovely evidence, if a little, bloody.
Plus, the prosecution wishes to submit these as well.
And these are... Oh, good lord! Is that blood, Counsel?
No, it's Kool-Aid. What do you think, my lord?
What's Kool-Aid?
Anyway, yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked blood gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested.
Wait a second!
What?
Is this the OJ trial?
Mr. McGilden's gloves had blood on them? Rubble, 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 rubble. British rubble, rubble, rubbles.
British rubble, rubble, rubble.
Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. Defendant's leather gloves. The leather gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident. There is a blood stain on the right glove. Oh, what a waste.
Oh my god, this is the OJ trial.
Bloodstain? Like a ritual of the night?
How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I even started.
Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time.
Only 2?
Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded.
Ah, well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you?
Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing.
Mr. McGilden!
Be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it.
Are you claiming to have been asleep?
It's the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilting, so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, it was a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life.
Huh.
I'm gonna trip over my words a lot here. We're just gonna have to accept that.
Oh,
Now I ask
boy.
yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach?
I can't wait to see you struggle with the next character I casted you in this case.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so happy. I love this. This is not ominous at all. Not whatsoever. I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand.
So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed.
Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning.
What? That's not all of it? Huh?
There were multiple witnesses.
Huh?
To the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed.
Rubble, 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 rubble.
British
Rubble, 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 rubble.
Order, order, order.
When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused.
Who brought that dog in here? Excuse me. Thank you, Counsel. The
I'm
circumstance...
sorry, that's my dog, my lord.
The circumstance...
I don't really have a place to keep the dog. He'll just have to be here for a bit.
Oh, I suppose that's fine, sir. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all.
Your wish is my command. Bailiff,
Bring the witnesses in at once.
You got it, sir.
I like this voice I settled with. I'm enjoying it.
Get comfy, he's in every case.
Exactly. That's why I picked something that wasn't crazy.
He is rather, subtle for a prosecutor. Of all the... I mean, you've only met one prosecutor, but, like, he's pretty subtle, so...
Yes, but I wanted
that
him
too.
because I know he's voiced by a Stinian. This is just catharsis for me at this point. Witnesses, your names and occupations.
My name is. Well, everyone calls me Beppo.
Well, good to meet you, Beppo.
I drive an omnibus in the East End. It's really cold.
Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city.
My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents.
My fucking god, I get that.
Let's begin by confirming the facts.
Also, Spinal and you are very quiet. I'm gonna just put the volume up on you. I'm not sure why you're quiet all of a sudden. You weren't quiet earlier, but now you are.
3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Quite right.
Yes, sir. That's right, sir.
Very well, then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please.
That third guy's hat constantly sliding off, I feel that. Just want to throw that out there.
Each of you tell the court precisely what you saw.
Can I stop this at... Nope. Okay, I guess we will listen. We will probably not actually, press them, though. What the witnesses saw.
It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well.
The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts, and I'm switching between all these accents, I'm sorry.
Welcome to my life when I went through this by myself.
That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed. I did. I couldn't help it.
As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony, I must say.
Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes.
I'd like to ask a question, if I may.
Yes, counsel? I forgot I'm talking to myself.
Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Why not?
Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it?
As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes.
Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. Oh dear.
How quaint. I'd read that civilizations in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own.
Excuse me, sir. That's racist.
But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses?
Huh?
Tell me, my Nipponese friend. Have you even traveled in an omnibus?
No, we literally just got here, sir.
We did travel in a carriage, though, Miss Naruto.
We did? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning.
No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is.
What do you mean? The actual scene? How?
The carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much?
Yes?
The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building.
Here? What? The entire carriage?
No, I only took a fraction of it. Does that make more sense to you, boy?
That's still incredible?
Anyway, bailiff!
Yep, I will go and get it, sir.
Bring forth the stricken omnibus!
We literally brought in the omnibus.
And now no one can see anything.
So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. They're just spacious.
As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. I didn't believe I was going to have to teach school today, but here we are. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights ought to be had from the top of an omnibus.
Ah yes, when it's freezing cold outside.
Has never stopped people before, and you know it.
Oh.
And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above.
A skylight. Oh!
The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats of this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight.
That makes perfect sense.
Well, Counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom.
Well, it's been 5 years. I wanted to make an entrance.
Oh, that's fair. I quite understand. It's quite the entrance.
Yes, well, thank you. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish.
Very well. I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. Omnibus, the 8-seater omnibus that was the scene of the crime. There were passengers both inside the carriage and on the roof of that night.
I appreciate your summaries, juror number 6.
Oh, why, thank you, sir.
You're quite welcome.
I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence?
What, have you never submitted a house as evidence? Come on! Come on, Naruhodo!
We didn't quite literally bring an entire house into the courtroom, though.
Have you tried?
No, I don't think it would
It's
fit.
the kind of house. It depends on the kind of house. I mean, some people do live in smaller houses like the
whoops,
carriage.
sorry. Didn't mean to do
I guess
that.
we're not going to have my text then. That's perfectly fine. The court system in Great Britain is quite amazing, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry about that. I, hit something just to check something, and then it just apparently was like, no, I'm gonna go proceed. I'm like, okay.
It's quite alright.
I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. I think we will do that in the next video, but before we close out, I do want to share something about this particular omnibus.
Are you ready for this?
Can we inspect it?
So-
Oh my god,
so
we can inspect the omnibus.
Before you get surprised by this, I will tell you this was already in the Japanese version. They kept it. So, if you look at this omnibus...
What?
So, yeah, it was a nice little callback to the localized version. This was in the original Japanese, so I thought I'd just share that to you, just a little nice Easter egg before we sign out for today, and we'll come back and properly examine the omnibus in the next video. We'll see you guys
It's
then.
right. Check out this photo I found. Look, you put a famous back in the old times too.
Oh god, no.